I'm Kevin Michalowski, editor of Concealed Carry Magazine, and this is Meet the Pressers. Brilliant.
Meet the Pressers with Matt Mallory and Klint Necro. Brought to you by Public Safety and Education and the Trigger Pressers Union.
Meet the Pressers is brought to you by Mantis. Mantis X helps shooters suck less. Next Level Training, makers of CERT training products. Henry Repeating Arms, made in America or not made at all. XS Sights, fast sights in any light. Meet the Pressers is also brought to you by these fine companies, shows, organizations, and our Patreon members. Thank you.
Hey everybody, Matt Mallory and Klint Macro here with Meet the Pressers. We're at the NRA Annual Meetings and Exhibits in awesome, beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. We are at the Voices of the Second Amendment, Media Row, a new thing that they just kicked off, and we got our second guest of the show today.
Nice.
And Clint's going to introduce him.
And I'm very proud to have this man here. This guy right here, he's someone I've worked with for many years, throughout the years, through USCCA. I think you were in DSF class.
DSF, first class, yeah. Second class, but first time I met you, yeah.
Okay, cool, yeah. His name is Phillip Bartolacci, and Phil is the regional training manager for the Mid-Atlantic area of the United States of America, for the Delta Defense Service Provider for the United States Concealed Carry Association.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes,
great to have you on the show, man.
It's good to see you.
It's such a
and Matt, as always, it's awesome.
Tell us the story of Phil.
Wow.
That was heavy.
Yeah,
That feels like wow.
So, very quickly, I had a martial arts background for decades, ran martial arts studios. Reached a point, studios, yes, multiple. Reached a point where, both ways, it went both ways. Reached a point where, the knees and shoulders were a little less cooperative, and I thought, let me do something fun. So I thought, hey, firearms would be an interesting next step up. Just started training a little bit about 10 years ago, became an instructor about 7.5 or 8 years ago.
Wow.
And one step led to another, ended up coming to work for USCCA and Delta Defense, and it's been awesome. So as Clint mentioned, a regional examiner, I cover a series of states in the East Central region, everything from Michigan down over to Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, so the airport and I are good friends, as you know, a lot of time. And I live in Atlanta, so I'm always flying out. So
you live in Atlanta?
I do.
Okay, I don't think I knew that.
Native, sort of. Yeah.
So when someone says, hey, what does the regional training manager do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wish we knew what we did. So bottom line is the official partners of the USCCA are value to us, right? They're the ones that help us improve our membership reach. They're the ones who allow us to have an extended reach with our training, education programs. So as a regional training manager, I get to work with those partners, and basically two sides of the coin. The first side is, how do we get people to become better instructors, right? Whatever that means, whether it's using USCCA curriculum, which we obviously enjoy and endorse, or if they have their own curriculum or NRA curriculum, whatever it is, as long as it's safe and it's ethical, we'll support them in that growth, right? Help them become better communicators. The second side of it is working with those official partners to help grow their business. So the biggest challenge most instructors have, and the question I always ask people is, before you can teach, what do you have to have? Quite often people answer that question, well, I have to have a room, I have to have insurance, I have to have certifications, right? A litany of things. And I just want to eventually get them to the point where they're recognized before they can teach, they have to have students. So that's a big thing, right? So how do we help those partners develop their businesses so they're attractive to more people so they can come in the front door? The second phase of that is, once they get in that first class, whatever that might be, how do we get them to stay? So retention is probably the most important part for an instructor.
So many of the instructors I've worked with over the years, especially in states where there's mandatory training, They just worry about those 8-hour, 6-hour plastic card classes, and they don't ever really get a touch on those same students ever again because they're so focused on those one-day card classes.
Yeah, and it's a travesty because most instructors, if you ask them, when people leave your class after that state-mandated training, for example, how confident are you that they could protect themselves and their loved ones that night? And usually the instructors are saying, well, they need more training. I'd love for them to come back. And many instructors put the blame on the student.
Right.
The student feels they have enough, which is true because the state, unfortunately, is telling them all you need is this class. So it's really incumbent upon the instructor to have a tangible conversation about that next step. And I think that's the secret. How do we get the instructors to build a program of growth, a ladder system for training that brings the student from A to B to C, and then make it almost like it's not even an option for them. But that takes courage.
We were just talking to Mike Ox just prior to you, and that kind of came up in the conversation as far as trying to get students to come back, and what you don't know, that whole mindset, and having students, like I've had a student of mine, he shot his girlfriend in the head and killed her. This is back in 2019, but my curriculum got pulled in by the DA's office. They were ready to have me testify in front of a grand jury because of what he did and his lack of knowledge. And he was a Navy officer, so they trained in the Navy, not a dumb guy, college educated, and did a 4-hour class with me, and walks out of there, and then a couple months later, shoots his girlfriend in the head because his finger was on the trigger. So I use that story in my classes and say, I don't care how trained you think you are, you can always learn more. And myself, I try to get, and Klint and I do this, we try to take classes under other instructors. I at minimum try to do 100 hours a year. Last year I think I did almost 500 hours.
Wow.
And then this year I'm already over 150 hours.
Actually, with that story you just told, if I may expand upon that, I use your story when I'm doing instructor development classes. The thing that maybe saved you or helped you to not have to deal with a whole lot of other litigation was the fact that he had documented that person's competency on the day. So even having a one-page, write out the safety rules in your own handwriting kind of thing is a really good protection for instructors, because we only have them for the time that we have them. Even if it is multiple sessions over time, we can't have a crystal ball and know what they're going to do. So documentation of competency, at least at the baseline level of safety, is very helpful for us as instructors to mitigate risk.
Yeah, no, that's a huge thing. And when we talk about the responsibility the instructors have to the students, and quite often instructors think about that responsibility purely during those 3 to 5 to 6 hours, whatever it is they have them. I say, I'm going to give everything to my students at that point. Up to and including, some kind of a verification that they understood at least the safety basics. But then how do we progress them onto that next level of training so that it's not just technical. Okay, I did these things, but it becomes their way of life, right? And you use the kung fu all the time, right? The word kung fu. Kung fu means.
But it is appropriate, though, isn't it?
It is. Kung fu means the effort of a person. So whatever they learn, do they stop learning or do they continue on learning?
Something that when I do academies, law enforcement academies, when I do security guard training, I'll usually end up doing the classroom portion, teaching them, we'll go to the range, and 4 times a year I qualify. So I qualify as a police officer, peace officer, LEOSA, and security, armed security. So I
got to ask,
4 qualifications.
Which one of them gives you a 5-second mulligan to blow the dust bunnies out of the hammer? I say that every time he talks about police training.
The hammer, right? Yeah. But to that point, why do I qualify 4 times a year? I only really technically have to qualify as a police officer. The other times I don't necessarily have to, but I do that. And then in the class, when I qualify, I'll have other instructors in there, and I'll shoot like 248, 250 out of 250. Yeah. And usually many people don't do that. And then I'll look, I go, guys, it's not anything spectacular. It's just what I taught you is what I apply, and that's how I'm shooting what I'm shooting. Yeah. So it comes down, and it's a way because you get rusty, like you said, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't have to blow the dust bunnies out as much because I'm literally blowing them out the muzzle when I shoot the gun 4 times a year versus once a year. That's all required by New York State law for law enforcement.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's it, right? Like you do have a skill. We always use these terms. Oh, it's a perishable skill as instructors. But do we sometimes prescribe our own medicine to ourselves, right? Do we spend enough time on the range ourselves?
How's that work? Like the carpenter's house is always the worst looking house.
The mechanic's car is always the rundown, beat up car. Yeah.
That's a thing. Yeah. That's totally a thing.
So that,
go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, I'm going to go. Go. I know you're famous for having people put together, especially using the USCCA curriculum, putting together like an academy, like an ongoing program. Do you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sure, yeah. So when you think about, again, what do we do? How do we move those students from Class A to Class B? I think there are a couple things that most instructors fall into a trap. They assume that everybody who comes in for that concealed carry license class, for example, is going to carry their gun.
Yeah.
Therefore, the next class they want to push them into is gun skill.
Yeah.
Linear development of gun skill, right? Skill development. Sounds perfect and logical. Except that statistically, self-reported statistics show that less than 80% of people who get a concealed carry license will actually carry that gun within a year. 100% of those people have the gun in their home.
Yes.
So, as responsible instructors, shouldn't we be kind of navigating people towards the next class being the one that they're all going to be receptive to, which is gun safety in the home, accessing and home defense planning.
Yeah.
That could be part of what I would call an academy. So maybe instead of offering the next series of classes and trying to sell them one class at a time, first take Tactical Pistol 1, then take Tactical Pistol 2 and Tactical Pistol 3. And every time you try and sell that class to that group of students, the group who takes it gets smaller and smaller. Well, curate a series of classes for that new gun owner that makes sense for their lifestyle, not for our passionate lifestyle, right? So maybe that first academy is 3 classes. The first one is home defense planning. The second one might be emergency first aid for the family. And the third one might be the legal use of force, whether it be in your home or outside in the public space. Get people to start thinking about stuff, oh, this is great, because this makes sense to me. I'm going to have the gun in my home. I'm not going to carry it on my body, so that advanced skills class of drawing from the holster might not really be part of my plan. So
that's a good idea. You know, and there's a lot of instructors out there that are doing it part-time and trying to find the way. I mean, Klint and I are blessed enough to be able to do this full-time, teach around the country, which is amazing. Never thought that you know, that would be a thing. And we go through it. Like, I'll put a class up, and you make the joke, I pack them in by the 5s, right? You know, I'll do classes where I'll have 4, 5, 6 students in it, and I think to myself, you know, I could be better using my time on the farm or in our rentals or something else, but I'm training people to be able to defend themselves against dirtbags.
That's a righteous calling, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's classes we'll put on the calendar that maybe don't turn out well, and I don't teach them often unless I get a group of people that want them, and then I can get a nice 5, 6, 8 people in the class.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of, and it goes based on geography too. There's classes down in your area. You're doing rifle classes. You're probably getting more people in rifle class than I'd ever get up in New York. You know, rifles in New York. Who big back scary guns in New York? It's handgun usually in New York.
Yeah, every market's gonna be a little bit different.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
To your point about the ongoing, if it's all about the gun, what's that old adage? If all you got's a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yeah,
you know, when you talk about personal defense, the defense of self and family in a public space or at home against evil criminals, like, there's probably a lot more that they could do that would help protect them than just focus on the gun. The gun's a big part of it.
Right.
But
sure.
you know, there are thousands of Americans every day that produce a firearm, and that's enough to defuse the situation.
Sure.
And there are plenty of situations where even untrained people successfully defended themselves with a gun.
Right.
So if we're talking holistically from a defensive standpoint, as training defensive instructors, there's so much more that goes into it than just the gun stuff.
Mindset, less
especially,
lethal.
I don't want to just elicit a stimulus response pattern, beep, bang,
Right.
beep. You know, so like target identification and figuring things out and collecting process information.
Acquire, identify, isolate the situation, then beep to bang if that's justified.
Yes.
Right.
So, you know, those are things that you don't typically see in your normal 8-hour just shoot 'em class.
Right,
Sure.
yeah. And you know, I like to bring instructor candidates through a process. If they're trying to figure out how do I create training that is relevant to a larger audience. I use this, what I call the restaurant scenario. If I've got a few extra minutes here, right? It's like, you are the protector of your family, right? Many people are. I'm the protector. But imagine if your wife or your husband or your children are out somewhere in a public space, like a restaurant. You're not there to be their protector.
But it happens, right?
It does, right? They spend time without you, right? So, but somebody else in that restaurant is there with the firearm, and they have a license. They're responsible. Somebody comes into that restaurant and is behaving in such a way that they may need to be shot. I ask those instructors, what do you want that other gun owner to know and be able to do
Don't shoot my
in
family.
your absence,
Yeah.
right? And the first thing that happens is I get a board and I put a line down the middle. Let's put hard skills. The hard skills come rolling out. Target acquisition, speed, precision, boom, boom, boom. Then we start listing soft skills. What about potential de-escalation?
Yeah.
What about going up to maybe move that person who's troublesome out of that environment?
Fire.
Well, how do we teach that? Right? We all have a way, we all believe it's important, but how do we teach it? So start creating that kind of curriculum as well. What about having the wherewithal to call 911, put your phone on speaker while you do something else? What about looking for escape routes and maybe move people away from emergency first aid? If something happens, do I want somebody who used a gun to be able to put a tourniquet on my family if they hurt, or if they fell and broke a leg? So when you start asking instructors, what happens if you're not there and what do you want other people to know, all of a sudden the light bulbs go off.
Yeah.
Maybe my training curriculum shouldn't all be about the trigger press.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I say, change your name, maybe not, you can't legally change your name, but change your name from anything that have to do with firearms or tactics or anything else to self-defense.
Yeah.
Because that's really what we should be teaching, and the firearm just plays a part in that.
Well, that's why public safety and education.
education,
That's why
right.
I came up with it that way. It's interesting because when I came up with the name, I could do other training, and the logo's actually got all different types of training in it.
Right.
But I predominantly focused on firearms because that's what I was good at, and that's what people wanted.
Yep.
And then, that student that did the gun thing all those years ago, right around that same time, I had another student that was going to pull a gun out in a gas station for somebody who was yelling at another employee. And I was like,
Yeah.
I just came out. I was like, what would you do if you didn't have a gun? He was like, but I had a gun.
Right.
I'm like, you're trying to stick a
Yeah.
square peg into a round hole. You literally yourself numerous times said, I can't do this, I can't do it, this isn't going to work, this isn't legal. And then you just stood there because you had no other options at your
Right.
disposal. And that
Right.
13 years ago was my journey on the less lethal stuff because
Right.
of that student.
Absolutely, yeah. So again, that restaurant scenario, what if a non-lethal option is desirable so that nobody has to be shot? And I purposely use that word that someone comes in who may need to be shot.
Yeah.
Because I want people to start thinking that it's
Right.
not always that immediate response.
Right.
So,
Well, now that
yeah.
you brought that up, just very briefly, and then we'll start to wrap some stuff up.
Sure.
You talked about non-lethal. I happen to know that the USCCA is coming out with a new non-lethal program. Do you want to talk about that at all?
It is, absolutely. So we've partnered with 4 of the primary manufacturers in the non-lethal space. Sabre, a fantastic company.
Yep.
Byrna for launchers.
Saber's been one of our sponsors from the beginning.
Yes, yes. And I know, I actually took a Sabre class from you at the USCCA Expo in Pittsburgh. Was that
Long
6 years
time ago,
ago?
yeah.
Whatever, that's when I first met you. So, long-time connections. So Sabre, Byrna, Taser for the civilian electrical devices, and ASP. It's commonly known for their baton for police work, but they have a pepper spray option. Yep, there it is, the ASP Defender, which is a different delivery mechanism from the Sabre. So you might want to learn about both because both of them might have their benefits and so on. So that is a new certification for instructors that we're releasing sometime in mid-May. Probably start rolling out for June or July classes for USCCA instructors or anybody. They don't have to be a USCCA instructor to go through that certification.
Cool. So any USCCA instructors or partners out there that want to learn more, like you'll hear from the regional training managers about.
Absolutely, yep, on a regular basis. Sure.
So the last thing, you're here with the USCCA at the booth.
I am.
And
yes.
I just want to say, this is just as important to your defensive strategy and infrastructure as the holster, as the ammo and the gun. I know Matt was a member until the whole thing in New York happened, where we couldn't, or they couldn't sell memberships there. But I've been a member since 2013, and I highly, highly recommend becoming a member, having that peace of mind that someone has your back legally and financially at the end.
Absolutely.
If we are left with no other choice but to press trigger, that's the beginning of our fight.
Right.
Because there's so much that happens after that that most people don't consider or plan for. So the USCCA membership is a must.
Yeah.
And on that note too, as far as like legal costs, and we'll maybe wrap it up with this. I know in Massad's class we talked about what it would cost to be able to defend yourself. What numbers you guys have that you can remember or pull out of your head? I'm thinking at least $5,000 if it's $5,000 to $10,000 for a retainer for an attorney just to look at the case.
Well,
That's not even if it
just
goes into
just to
it.
look at it. But it depends on where you are in the market. I know, like the shit hot attorney in Pennsylvania. You're looking. There's 2 of them that I typically would recommend, and they're anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000 retainer.
Wow.
And
Right.
you know, we had George Zimmerman on here. He spent $3 million
$3
in his defense. Now,
Yeah.
granted,
Look
that
at
was
OJ's.
that was huge, but
OJ's,
you know,
defense.
what's to say that your dynamic critical incident couldn't turn into something as big as
you
that?
can't pick who's going to attack you.
We should expect that the DA is going to throw the absolute ever-loving book at us. We should expect they're going to be as creative and throw in the kitchen sink, and we should expect it's going to cost us a gazillion dollars.
Yeah.
And if we can plan for that, then we're going to be in better shape if it's anything less. Or better yet, not at all.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
John Farnham, stupid places, stupid people, stupid times, stupid things. So you're, no way! And John Farnham literally is walking by our booth as I use his analogy. Hey, John. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you.
See all you
Nice to
guys.
meet you.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Just recording a live show, so say hi to everybody, John.
Oh yeah, hi everybody.
Just said your stupid places, stupid people, stupid times, stupid things, and then what did I tell you that we had? Or your life could become stupid, right? I added that.
Which I stole from you, I think.
Hey, that's fine. You know, Matt Mallory, give me credit.
right.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see
Stay
you.
safe.
Thanks.
Well,
Look at
that's
that. How
that's the
fitting is
NRA
that?
annual meeting, man.
it.
You know,
We
you're
call
here
the hall
talking,
now.
and
Oh,
all
my
of a sudden,
goodness.
like a legend just.
I literally
yeah.
said his whole statement there.
I
He's
thought
like,
you said that
I
because he
didn't
was
see
walking
him.
down.
Honestly, I didn't see him.
It
That's
just kind of came out of the
crazy.
mist when you
It's
said it.
crazy.
Well, that's
I wish
awesome.
he'd do that in the classes, but anyway.
Well, Phil, how can people get in touch with you and like learn more about what's going on, or maybe even become a partner with the USCCA?
Sure. Well, certainly going to USCCA.com is a good place to start, and there's information there about becoming an instructor or an official partner. If you want to reach out to me personally for whatever reason, it's Phillip.B, Phillip with 2 L's, Phillip.B at USCCA.com. And for instructors, I've got my little community that I'm building, purely something, if you have any interest in it, go to instructorsalliance.com. It's instructors with an S at the end, alliance.com. And it's a community we're trying to build out of instructors who share their knowledge and their experience. It's not content driven, it's context driven. So people just have conversations
Yeah,
about that.
it's very interesting. I just logged into it and signed up just a couple days ago, and already some of the thought-provoking questions that you popped up there, like getting people to think and seeing the interaction between the instructors that are there, it's
Right.
good information sharing opportunity.
Yep, and that's also, we can all grow and have that passion that we have for our students to become commonplace. So
Don't know what
happy
I'm
to have
missing.
it.
I guess I got to get in there too.
Yeah,
We'll
you gotta
get you.
get on it.
We'll get you a membership.
Cool.
Well,
Wonderful.
thanks everybody for watching and enduring the interruption. That's what happens at NRA Annual
Right.
Meeting.
That's how it is.
And
It's
who better to
organic.
be interrupted by than John Farnham? How about it?
For sure.
So we'll see you guys live a little bit
Again,
later
a little
on,
bit.
and we'll see this one later on when I post it on YouTube.
Hey everybody, this is Klint and Matt with Meet the Pressers. We're at Sabre's booth here at SHOT Show 2025 in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. And Sabre's been one of our sponsors since the beginning, I think. And we're honored to have a very important guest here. And Matt, would you do the honors of introducing him?
Absolutely, Clint. So we've got David Nance, the head honcho, the CEO, the brain behind the company here at Sabre, and we always like catching up with you. It's you're very hard to catch up with, but it's always good to have you on and talk about what you guys have going on and this amazing product here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I don't know if I'm the head honcho. I mean, I don't know if I'm the brains behind the organization, but I'll try to get through this interview.
You keep
We'll
it
see what
going.
we can do
Keep
here.
it going. So what's up with the launcher?
Yeah, so Sabre, this is our 50th year anniversary. Global leader in manufacturing pepper sprays for both civilians and law enforcement. Had a tremendous number of requests over the years for a launching device for projectiles to go into a small compact pistol and also for a rifle for law enforcement. So that's what we have here. It's .68 caliber. It's a less lethal type of protection at an even greater distance than our pepper spray. Still either using pepper projectiles or impact type projectiles to allow that protection at a safer distance. And this specifically is our home defense launcher.
Very cool. And then the older one, the predecessor to this was orange.
Correct. It's
And
correct.
The change of the color was to, I'm assuming a lot of thought went into that as far as changing the color, right?
Well, I mean, we want to make sure people understand that this is non-lethal. This is not a lethal firearm. We're seeing that firearms are kind of allowed in multiple different colors these days. We think this is really bright yellow. It's going to tell people, like law enforcement, that this is non-lethal. We feel that that's important. That's why we chose that specific color. It's a little bit more compact than the orange one that we had before. but this one is designed specifically for home defense. It has 7 projectiles. The industry average for .68 is only 5. So you get 40% more stopping power with this launcher. That is a big advantage because you have multiple moving subjects coming at you inside your home. You want 7 instead of 5. That is a big advantage with the Sabre Home Defense projectile launcher.
Yeah, and I actually got to shoot it at USCCA headquarters when we were out there doing the master instructor course, and it was pretty impressive. So I like that.
Yeah, actually, Matt and I, under controlled situation, we sampled being shot by this particular device, and I can tell you those projectiles, they sting. You're getting hit, and of course we didn't use the live pepper, but the training rounds, man, that was something. I can't imagine being hit in the chest with that, and that pepper product, the Sabre Red, coming up into my face. That would be pretty.
Yeah, see, you're talking about something that's a little bit larger than a marble per se, at .68 caliber. It's traveling up to 330 feet per second. You're getting some pretty significant blunt force trauma from that, and then you couple that. Now you bend over, and bam, here's a pepper cloud.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things about this, though, is it's difficult to hit a moving target with any type of design like this, right? It just is in general. So again, that's where the 7 projectiles come into play. But if you miss and your subject, the intruder, is within that 6-foot pepper cloud, you're going to provide some of that respiratory distress, the eyes, the burning, like the sneezing, coughing. That's going to give you opportunity to escape, get to a safe room, whatever the case may be. But get distance from that threat. That's that pepper cloud. So you can hit high, hit low, just off to the side. It hits a hard surface up to 175 feet. It's going to cause that pepper cloud, giving you that opportunity to escape, even if you don't make direct contact within 6 feet.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The ingenuity you guys have and all the products is pretty astounding. I love it.
We want to make it easy to use, and we want to make it effective. That's who we are at Sabre. Because those are bad situations that people find themselves in when they need to use our products. So we want to make it as easy as possible to help them get out, get safe, get to their loved ones, live happily there ever after. That's our goal.
Yeah, and I think it just shows the company and how you guys operate, going from orange to yellow. Because something subtle like that you really did the research on it. It says a lot about you guys and your company. So
you're always trying to improve what you do, and I think that's fantastic. I mean, even with the canisters, with the safety, you change how the safety work, and the new design is a little easier to deploy. It's fantastic.
3-in-1 with a glass brake and the seatbelt cutter.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is when you're under high stress, your fine motor skills can be jeopardized. So it is imperative that you make these products easy to use. Absolutely.
For sure. Super. Check them out and give them your business.
Hello, my name is Klint Macro, co-founder and administrator of National Train a Teacher Day. National Train a Teacher Day is a grassroots movement of volunteer firearms, safety, first aid, and defense instructors that offer free training to teachers, school staff, administrators, and those that work with youth in a leadership capacity. We do this every year on National Train a Teacher Day. This year marks the 8th annual National Train a Teacher Day, and we'll be observing it on Saturday, June 21st, 2025. That's Saturday, June 21st, 2025. Over the years, hundreds of volunteer instructors have trained thousands of teachers, school staff, administrator, and those that work with youth in a leadership capacity. If you fit that bill, or if you know someone that does, we encourage you to visit or have them visit the website, which is nationaltrainateacherday.com, and connect with a local instructor and take advantage of this fantastic free training opportunity. We'd like to thank our volunteers, our partners, and our sponsors for helping make National Train a Teacher Day a success each year. But most of all, we want to thank you, the teachers, school staff, administrators, and youth leaders who take the time to empower themselves with information to better protect those that they educate, and that is our children. Visit the website, spread the word, and we will see you on National Train a Teacher Day, Saturday, June 21st, 2025. Thanks.
There's lots of sponsors that make this show possible, like Mantis, Next Level Training, like Henry, like
XS Sites.
Check them out and give them your business.
Meet the Pressers is brought to you by Mantis. Mantis X helps shooters suck less. Next Level Training, makers of CERT training products. Henry Repeating Arms, made in America or not made at all. XS Sights, fast sights in any light. Meet the Pressers is also brought to you by these fine companies, shows, organizations, and our Patreon members. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the show.
Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and click that little bell thingy so you know when the next episode's coming out. Support us on Patreon. Come to one of our classes. Host us to come to you and do one of our classes at your location.
And until next time,
Adieu.
Thank you for watching Meet the Pressers.